Brad Bemke here with Hyperbots, joined today by John Silverstein at Live Data. Really excited for the conversation we have today. I had a number of questions that we wanted to run through with you, John, in relation to Hyperbots and the co-pilots on SAP ECC. So that's kind of the focus of today's discussion. Again, number of questions. And first one to kind of kick things off with you, with my first question being, what makes Hyperbots AI Co-Pilots a practical add-on for SAP ECC?
Yeah, the Hyperbots add-on for SAP ECC, it's the key is that it can securely read and write every key object. So you're completing both the company codes, vendors, materials, purchase orders, goods receipts, invoices, any custom fields, anything. And ECC stays the system of record, so it just works alongside with the system seamlessly.
Very good. And how long does a typical Hyperbots rollout take on ECC?
The typical rollout for just ECC is 6 to 8 weeks. The connector's already built, so most of the calendar time is just lining up the internal approvals and test windows.
Very good. How often would you say does Hyperbots sync data with ECC, and what do you recommend?
Yeah, so you can choose the times of how often it syncs. So you can have real time for things that need that, or hourly, daily, weekly. So the frequencies can be adjusted through the admin UI. So it depends on what it is. If you're writing like journals or accruals and those things, those you typically want real time. If it's company codes and chart of accounts, you don't need those as often. So you can set those up to just go daily or weekly to just make sure they're in sync, even though there's not that changes, or there shouldn't be that many changes on a regular basis.
Very good. How does each co-pilot automate an ECC task significantly?
Yeah, it's from the invoice processing co-pilot. It reads the PDF, matches it to the PO and goods receipt. The auto codes accounts and tax, then posts the supplier invoice. So 80% of the invoices go straight through. On the accruals co-pilot, it can find the open PO's receipt with no invoice, books the month-end accruals, and then reverses them automatically as the invoice arrives. That's a key point, because it's actually, you're not just waiting for your month-end close. Your books are actually current all the time with the accruals co-pilot. And PRPO co-pilot, that creates your purchase request from the contacts, checks the budget, routes the team approvals, and then converts it to request a purchase order once approved. Vendor co-pilot, that validates your tax IDs, bank details, and all those things up front. The payment co-pilot, that balances discounts against cost of capital and builds a payment proposal, generates the bank files, and posts the clearing entries. So that will reconcile the payments against bank statements automatically. The sales tax co-pilot, that checks for the ship from, ship to tax rules, and to ensure that your material tax groups before they post is set up with the rules, preventing any tax mistakes.
How would you say does Hyperbots handle exceptions or write failures back to ECC?
Yeah, with Hyperbots, every write, the Hyperbots immediately reads back the record, and any discrepancy or closed period or missing code, it triggers 3 auto retries. If it still fails, then you end up with a transaction drops into the integration exceptions queue, and then the finance team will receive an alert. Nothing fails silently, where you have to manually go in and try to figure out if something failed.
Yeah, that's huge. What would you say safeguards, from a safeguard standpoint, like what safeguards are in place for security, data integrity, and customization?
Yep, the platform's both SOC 2 and Type 2 and ISO 27001 certified. So data is encrypted in motion and at rest. Access uses short-lived tokens tied to ECC roles, no stored passwords. The custom and Z fields are auto-discovered, so co-pilots read and write them like standard fields. The currency and parallel ledgers are fully supported, and there's one dashboard that shows the health of every company code.
Very good. ECC systems are heavily customized, but as we know. But how do co-pilots and hyperbots handle client-specific logic?
Yeah, the key here is onboarding is to have Hyperbots scan all the metadata and all the custom fields and tables to become a mapping target. AI will learn, and from a setup standpoint too, Hyperbots make sure that the mapping is accurate and that you're going through the historical postings and then populating those fields and seeing how they're populated and going through the actual workflow of how that operates. If you have bespoke posting rules, we trigger those from standard user exits, and there's no core modifications within ECC.
That's great to hear. How do you guarantee that each transaction written to ECC actually succeeds?
Yeah, this is one of the easier ones. Right after the posting, if it reads and goes through every critical field, amount, currency, company code, posting date, if everything matches, then you get the posted check box. Otherwise, the agent retries and escalates, and you'll get the failure codes.
And what happens when we upgrade ECC or migrate to S4HANA, for example?
Yeah, during a migration, it's dual write mode, so you can have it in both ledgers until you do the cutover. So upgrades follow the same pattern. The co-pilots keep running without downtime. So if there's anything that changes or configs that need to happen in the other one, you're running in parallel.
Yeah, that's great. Not having any downtime is is huge when you're doing a migration for sure. But how does Hyperbots handle on-premise integration with SAP ECC?
Yeah, for an on-premise system, we deploy a lightweight agent inside your DMZ. So it opens a secure outbound HTTPS tunnel to Hyperbots. There's no inbound firewall rules, so the agent uses the ECC's native APIs. So data never leaves your control unencrypted, and InfoSec teams like the minimal footprint, so it's very minimal from that standpoint. So it follows the typical. It's following the secure tunnels and everything, so you don't have to worry about the firewall rules and all that as well.
And as kind of a final question for today, how is Hyperbots Agentic AI on ECC different from other AI add-ons that you've seen?
Yeah, so from the ones I've looked at, there's many tools that they stop at the scanning or a simple part of the workflow. They don't go into all the systems and go into the read write and all the fields, or they are missing fields or mapped to different fields and you can't configure those. So Hyperbots is an agentic workflow. So AI that acts, raises purchase requests, books journals, reverses accruals, requests credit memos, reconciles payments, closes the POs, and verifies the tax. The finance trained models, they can reach up to 99.8% accuracy. We deliver about 80% productivity gains is what when fully implemented. And typically in a lot of the other tools, what we've seen is a 20 to 30% improvement. The basic OCR and RPA tools, that was a typical uplift. So this provides a tamper-proof audit trail covering above that 80% of the use cases.
Yeah, it's a stark difference in overall kind of improvement, that we're seeing from what automation's been out there. So, John, great conversation. Appreciate you answering some questions here today. I know we did more of a rapid fire session, but great to have you as always, and looking forward to the next session. But today's conversation on SAP ECC and how it works with Hyperbots was great to hear from your expertise. So thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Brad.
Yep, absolutely.